live on a Monday, aren't we ever? It's the 22nd of September, and it's Monday Night Football in Baltimore, Maryland, where I am right now, having traveled in yesterday. I'm Bobby Trossett. This is my co-host and partner, Sarah Ellison. We can already feel the energy vibing in this live chat right now. The super chats and a number of other gifts are pouring in. We've got a ton of content to get to, Sarah, and really, beginning with yesterday, I think there's a lot to like, or maybe validation from a confidence level standpoint in terms of where the Ravens stand right now within the AFC North division. And they will have a chance to go into a three-way tie with two other teams with a win tonight against the Lions. Without further ado, let's just dive right in because it's week 3 of this NFL season, and it comes down to a close tonight. And Sarah, take a look at the forecast, just if we will, quickly. And of course, we'll have Will Birchfield in for the Detroit perspective coming up a little bit later on from 97.1 The Ticket. We'll talk a little bit about Lamar Jackson's secret weapon that it doesn't really seem like anybody ever talks about. John Harbaugh makes a big announcement related to coaching philosophy changes. So yeah, there's a lot to discuss. But take a look at the perfection that is today in Baltimore. It's a beautiful fall. Isn't today the first day of fall, too, by the way?
Is it officially today?
I think it is. It's the 22nd. The summer solstice is now behind us. It's September 22nd. You're inside the vault. It's week 3 of this freaking NFL season. And take a look at the weather coming up tonight. 8:15, mostly clear, very little wind, partly cloudy by the start of the fourth quarter, 68 degrees. It sounds like football weather to me coming up tonight at the bank. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you. You are correct. Today is the first day of fall. I'm glad that we made that official. I feel like a darkness energy coming over Baltimore, Bobby. I feel like darkness is about to fall upon the Detroit Lions at M&T Bank Stadium. I feel like the crowd is going to be crazy, off the chain, a whole sea of black going on in there. I feel like it's usually, Bobby, I don't get to do pregame shows with you because it's on Sunday. But today we get to have a show, and it's just a different vibe pregame, and I'm here for it. I cannot wait for this game to start tonight.
Yeah, 8:15 inside the bank. It's obviously a blackout. And by the way, since Sarah issued somewhat of a complaint during our pre-conference call, it's a 2-shirt kind of day, all right? And 3 if you include Pilates this morning, which I started my day with. But the second shirt is white, just for Vault promotional purposes. And then tonight, I will join Sarah for the first time as a spectator in a non-press box setting on U.S. soil. I will join Darkness Falls tonight at M&T Bank Stadium. My brother John and I are going to the game. I look forward to it. I will leave at the end of the third quarter, bust back to Canton, and get ready for our post-game show. But as you see here, that Mo in the end zone, all blacked out, is back in Baltimore on the opposite side of this graphic right now.
Bigger so we can see it.
Oh,
the Mo has different colors than the rest of Baltimore. Even though they went back with that 30th season, they're still giving love to Mo.
Yeah, right. This reflects, of course, just little tweaks, I guess, if you will, coming off of last weekend's celebration. And so there's a lot at stake, Sarah, including history. The Ravens are looking to become the first team in NFL history to score 40 points, at least 40 points, because they put up 41 to be exact last week, in each of the first 3 games of an NFL season. So that's all what goes down tonight, or at least is what is at stake tonight. And of course, these two teams know each other, and Detroit remembers what happened a couple years ago in October of 2023. We will revisit that game a time or two, and on the Detroit side of things, share what they are saying throughout the course of tonight's live stream, and I should say today's live stream. But Sarah, we should probably begin, as we like to do when the Ravens don't play on a Sunday, which you alluded to a little while ago. It feels weird right now, right? The fact that this is pregame. It is pregame, and we're just around 8 hours away from kickoff. But let's take a look at what happened throughout the division. I'll pass the baton over to you for this one. If you liked defense, this was probably the game for you because there wasn't a high-flying offense, if you will, in this one. But Cleveland, Sarah, the same Cleveland team that came into Baltimore a week ago and got thumped. I wouldn't say they thumped Green Bay, but that defense, led by Myles Garrett and company, got the job done. I mistakenly referred to the Browns as Joe Flacco's team yesterday on Twitter. This is Myles Garrett and Jim Schwartz team because they held Green Bay, Sarah, to 10 total points, and Cleveland gets its first win of the year yesterday.
Well, and before we even dive into that game, Bobby, to me, at the end of yesterday, I just felt like within the AFC North, the Ravens got a win, even though two of the teams in the AFC North got wins. And just from a big picture standpoint, with the Browns, it's because their defense is legit. Like of all the teams, of all the games in the AFC North, this one was the biggest surprising to me. I thought for sure Green Bay would get this win. The Browns are so good at playing spoiler, which is why when they play the Ravens, you can never feel too comfortable. But the Ravens offense against this Browns defense still put up 40 points. That's bananas. And they shut down Derrick Henry. So how do you not feel better about that win when they did that to Green Bay? We're going to get into the Bengals, who just got demolished. Of course, we knew that was going to happen after Joe Burrow went down. And then the Steelers needed 5 turnovers to get a win. So to me, just big picture, and then we'll get into each game and with more detail. But how do you not feel more comfortable again? Nobody in the AFC North is scaring Baltimore right now. The closest could have been this Browns defense, and the Ravens took care of defense already. So, Bobby, here's what's crazy. Let's get into the details of this Browns-Green Bay game. The Browns hadn't scored any points almost the entire game. But then they come back from 10 points down in the fourth quarter. They were down 10-0, and somehow they pull out the 13-10 win. How did that happen? And again, it was mostly because of defense. So with just the final 4 minutes, down 10-0, first, Andre Schmidt hit a 35-yard field goal. So that takes them to 10-3. Then on the ensuing Green Bay possession, Grant Delpit, who was talking a lot of smack, but he ate 2 against the Ravens, but he picked off Jordan Love and returned it 25 yards. So after that, the Packers had a penalty that took the ball down to the 1-yard line, where Quinshon Judkins capitalized and scored 1 yard out to tie the game at 10. Do you mind taking down the chat just for a quick second so we Absolutely. Can see us? Thank you. Then on the Packers' ensuing possession, Green Bay drove into field goal range, but then Brandon McManus, his 43-yard attempt was blocked by Shelby Harris of the Browns with 27 seconds left to play. And the Browns then got the ball back and moved the ball 16 yards to set up a game-winning 55-yard field goal. Like, it was all defense and special teams because the offense was getting nothing, okay? Nothing going. In fact, probably the highlight of the game for the offense was just them getting a first down and spiking the ball at exactly the right time. So we can kind of see that. This is like Joe Flacco's biggest highlight right here. He converts the first down on 3rd and 2 with about 8 seconds left. Everybody gets set and spike the ball with 2 seconds left. Perfect operation. I know that we would appreciate in Baltimore because sometimes it seems like we don't have good clock management, but that was like Joe Flacco's biggest highlight because it was indeed the defense that got it going, led by the defensive line and Garrett and Myles Garrett, Bobby.
Goodness gracious. I mean, look at this. Look at what they're doing. They are quite literally carrying Cleveland through 3 weeks. Now, they only have 1 win, as we've said, to show for it. But where would they be without him? 0-3, you would think. Their defensive line was the difference in this game, as all 22 PFF tweeted out. And how about the in-game PFF grades for the big boys up front? Shelby Harris over 90 and a half to be exact. Malik Collins, who the Ravens saw plenty of last weekend, 89.7. Myles Garrett was actually the 3rd grade on this. That shows you how much they got contribution-wise from Harris and Collins. Myles came in at an 84 flat overall grade. And you brought this one in as well. And here's Jim Schwartz again, who's the play caller. He is the defensive play caller in Cleveland, one of the game's greats today. And all 22 is like the entire Packers offensive line graded below a 50 because of those players that we just had up on the screen, and really the entire front. And he's like, all 22 managers may consider benching their offensive line when facing Cleveland from this point forward. So look, it's not, again, does this change anything about what we said last week? that they're expected, as Zach Jackson told us, Sarah, from the Athletic perspective, who we had on from Cleveland in the days leading up to the game? Does this change our thoughts on where they're going to be drafting in April? I'd still suspect they're going to be a top 5 team. But the fact that the Packers, the high-flying Packers, the Micah Parsons-led Packers, who going into the week, folks were referring to as the bona fide representative come February out of the NFC. The fact that they held them to 10 points, bravo. What a performance from Cleveland's defense.
And that is why, and again, we did say it, but now like we're being validated in our statement last week that this was a big deal that the Ravens could score 40 points against this defense. I mean, they did exactly what they wanted to do, which was shut down Derrick Henry in the run game.
Yeah.
It's exactly what they wanted to do. Yeah. And yet Lamar Jackson was able to lead things through the air. He got some nice field position finally from the defense and their turnovers and special teams and all that. So, but he made them pay through the air. That is what teams, since he's been drafted, has been saying. We're going to stop the run and then we're going to force Lamar to win through the air. And that's what he did. And so the fact that they could have their way with the run game and still win, and then they could go and have even more of their way with the Green Bay Packers, to me, lets us know that that was a bigger win than maybe even at first glance. Meanwhile, that's not the end with the AFC North. I'm trying to get this slide to move. The Bengals, Bobby, woof, they lost 48-10. And yes, of course, we expected them to be bad because Joe Burrow is out, but the Vikings were missing their starting quarterback too. Carson Wentz came out and he helped that team put up 48 points. Bobby, I went back and watched, you know how the NFL puts up like those 15-minute highlight clips? I mean, you get a pretty good feel for the game when you have highlights, 15 minutes worth of them. From what I saw, the Bengals looked lifeless. They looked soulless. They look like they don't believe in themselves without Joe Burrow. Like there's no hope. The turnovers, constant turnovers, some of them were just like, do you even want the ball? Like, are you even trying to hold on to the ball? And as we know, their defense was already terrible to begin with. They let Isaiah Rodgers on the opposite side, Isaiah Rodgers on their defense had an 87-yard pick six, 1 interception, a 66-yard fumble return touchdown, and then 2 forced fumbles. I mean, he was the offense just looked like they didn't want to be there. Didn't even want to be there. It was just like, well, it's week 3. Our season's over. There's no way with that type of attitude are they even going to be close to in position if Joe Burrow is able to come back in mid-December.
Yeah, Jake Browning's first start, to your point, since Joe went down. He had successful surgery, I read, over the weekend. So his 3-month timetable, if you will, begins right now. But, Sarah, they were 3 for 11 on third down. They turned the football over 5 times. They lost the time of possession battle. They were not heavily penalized. Minnesota was, actually. They were penalized 13 times for 105 yards. But it doesn't matter when you're putting up that kind of points, moving the ball with ease. Great for Carson Wentz to put that kind of tape on film. He obviously thinks that he's still a starting quarterback in this league, even though it's been many years since he's gotten that opportunity, at least as a full-time starter. And he was a man. He managed the game well for them. The stats don't show you anything miraculous. He was 14 of 20 for 173 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked a few times, but he finished with a quarterback rating of 129.8. It's just one of those games where the statistics only tell part of the story in terms of how he managed that game as the veteran, former MVP candidate that he was in Philadelphia. And so, yeah, if you're Cincinnati, you're going to put performances like that out on tape. It doesn't matter how quickly Joe Burrow can come back from this grade 3 tear grade 3 turf toe, because you're not going to be relevant come December if you're playing like that.
There's going to be no reason to even put him back there in December if they don't have him in somewhat playoff contention to where he could maybe, bring them back around. And then here's what the Pittsburgh Steelers needed to happen for them to get their win. The Patriots turned the ball over 5 times, like I mentioned before. 4 of them being fumbles. Well, it was like fumble city and blocked field goal city yesterday. That like those were some of the themes across the NFL yesterday. So the Steelers only won 21-14 despite the defense getting 5 turnovers. Like that's how inept their offense is. Not quite as inept as the Browns, but not a whole lot better. So so let me see here. There were 3 times in 6 offensive snaps to end the first half and to open the second that they had fumbles. Okay. Quarterback May threw for 268 yards and a pair of touchdowns to Hunter Henry, but he also threw a pick in the end zone and coughed up a fumble midway through the fourth quarter in a tied game. Then running back Stevenson, he fumbled twice, including one to end New England's first possession that set up the Pittsburgh's first opening score. Then he fumbled again at the goal line early in the second half. So 2 of those turnovers, Bobby, were like in the end zone or at the goal line. So they were in scoring position where they could have easily had 28 points and take away the 7 that set up that first one for the Steelers. Like it easily could have been 28-14 or more. And so again, it's just one of those games that again, yes, the Steelers forced the fumbles and the turnovers, so you have to give them credit. And at the same time, this offense is hardly doing anything where you're putting up 21 points when you had 5 turnovers gifted to you.
You know, my favorite reference that we've talked about many times on the golf course, when you ham and egg and you're in a player partner type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 phases of offense and defense are hamming and egging right now in Pittsburgh, because it was a week ago that we were sitting here like, what is up with this defense?
Yeah.
Well, the defense is the sole reason why they won yesterday. You know, I mean, wow. The 3 T's that we sometimes reference on this show when it comes to third down efficiency, the turnover game, and time of possession. Two of the three were won by New England and won easily. But when you cough the football up, like you said, 5 total times, and that's the one that you lose when you're winning handily the time of possession game, you're winning the third down game, you're moving the ball. Sarah, they outgained Pittsburgh. New England did 369-203.
Whoa.
I mean, they thoroughly outperformed Pittsburgh, and yet the Steelers walk away victorious. If I'm Mike Vrabel, that's a tough pill to swallow for his, he's first year head coach there, not in the NFL, but with his, his former team where he used to play in New England. And that's a tough pill to swallow. So, hey, as they always say, it's not how you just win, baby. But I think that the overall sentiment here that you kind of came off the top of this show expressing stands tall. And that is, yeah, a couple of the teams won in this division yesterday, but they did so in a fashion where you say, is that a Band-Aid type of win? Are they real? Are they pretending, or are they contending? And right now, it looks like there's only one true contender in this division through almost 3 weeks tonight.
There are 3 pretenders, 1 contenders, even though you don't see it quite yet, because this is where we stand in the division. So Cincinnati leads the division, tied with Pittsburgh at 2-1.
Yeah.
Baltimore is next, 1-1. The Ravens, with a win tonight over the Detroit Lions, obviously could put themselves at 2-1 to tie for first place. If they happen to lose, then they'll be tied for last place at 1-2 with Cleveland. But sometimes these standings don't tell you everything, especially through 3 weeks. So there is no doubt in my mind that within the next, and Baltimore's the one with the toughest schedule by far. I see them for sure moving up this board and taking control sooner than later. Then outside of the AFC North, I know we wanted to just highlight a couple of AFC matchups. And finally, the Kansas City Chiefs broke their losing streak. They actually had 3 losses in a row. If you go back to last season when they lost the Super Bowl, they finally pick up a win, 22-9 against the New York Giants. So good news for Kansas City, because if they had gone 0-3, the historical statistics suggest that you don't go very far if you start out 0-3. So only 6 teams in NFL history had ever started 0-3 and gone on to make the postseason. In the 15 previous instances of the Chiefs starting 0-2, the franchise went on to make the playoffs just once. So the odds are still against them, but obviously, I'm actually happy, Bobby, that they won yesterday in some ways, because like coming in 0-3 against the Ravens, I mean, it would have been like do or die. Still is a little bit do or die. Or when I guess they're not coming in. The Ravens are going to be going into Kansas City. So they got their one win. The question is did they find their stride, or were the New York Giants that bad? The New York Giants aren't the most impressive team out there.
No, far from it. And I think even after a week where Russ cooked, if you will, in a loss to the Cowboys, over 400 yards, the moon ball was working. He looked spry. Last night was not one of those games for him whatsoever. They were booing him. Home crowd was booing him. They were chanting for their rookie, Jackson Dart, to get a look at him. The Giants are going nowhere fast, and if they don't get a look at Jackson before they're actually out of mathematically at least, playoff contention, I don't know why you wouldn't make that move. I mean, this is a 37-year-old quarterback who, clearly is on the back nine of his career, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is it for him in terms of, starting opportunities. But we brought it up, to your point, because of Kansas City. They are pedestrian-like at this point at best through a few weeks. You're right. They absolutely needed this win. Makes them probably a lot less desperate, if you will, coming up next week at their place at Arrowhead. But we know how it goes. We know how it goes when the Ravens and Chiefs battle it out. The Ravens have only beat them once head-to-head in this Lamar era. You got to go back to September of 2021, if memory serves. That game was at the bank, and we all know how the other ones have played out, particularly in January in the AFC Championship game a couple years ago. So they literally, Chris Collinsworth, I thought summed it up best at the end of that first half. It just is different. There's something about Kansas City that is off, and it's been off. But I just can't sit here and say that, even though those are the facts based on what they put on tape, will that be different coming up on Sunday next week at their place? I still think they're going to have a very difficult time. I'm sure it's going to be a back and forth game. But they need their playmakers back, Sarah. Without Rashee Rice, without Xavier Worthy, without those gadget guys, those speedsters that killed the Ravens in that rematch of the AFC Championship game week 1 last year, picking apart the middle part of the Ravens defense and finding some of those weak spots across the middle. And that was, of course, when Trenton Simpson was out there. If they're not involved as a component of this offense, yeah, it doesn't really scare you on paper. But their defense, as it showed last night, can still, like Cleveland did this weekend, can still put themselves in situations to win.
Well, after tonight, we'll definitely be able to break that down much more heading into week 4. The last AFC game that we'll highlight is the fact that the Chargers are now 3-0. They beat the division rival of theirs, Denver Broncos, ever so slightly, 23-20. Justin Herbert, look, he's off. We were kind of joking throughout the offseason how he's got a great PR team, and he has, because people kept putting him among the best quarterbacks when really he wasn't able to make his team a consistent winning team, a consistent playoff contender. They've been to obviously the playoffs, they've won, but it just wasn't consistent enough. But through 3 weeks of the season, he's looking pretty good. In the fourth quarter yesterday against the Broncos, he went 12 of 15, 123 yards, 1 touchdown, 123.1 quarterback rating. That's great for fourth quarter against a division rival. His first 3 games this year, 860 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's 3-0. So with Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman, he seems to be doing pretty well. And I actually loved this. There was one play, I believe this was at the end of the game. Dan Orlovsky broke it down. Sometimes you just got to give credit where credit is due. Check out this play that really was impressive by Justin Herbert.
What's crazier, that this picture ends up in a touchdown, or that this picture ends up in a touchdown? This isn't normal stuff. This is 3 or 4 people on the planet that take that and then that and then that into touchdown. Sick.
He said there's 3 or 4 people on the planet that can do that. I think Lamar Jackson is one of those 3 to 4 people for sure. And when Lamar does that, we give him credit. When Justin Herbert does it, we'll give him his love for here too. Chargers looking like they're the best in the AFC West above the Broncos. They've now beaten the Broncos and the Chiefs in that division.
Jim Harbaugh, Sarah, wherever he's gone, has never not had success, right? If you look at his head coaching resume, that is what screams back at you. He has never not had success. And so this is year 2. Justin's playing really well to start off the season. He just has such a command of that offense. They got good contributions, Sarah, from the young gun, Omarion Hampton at running back. He was toting that thing yesterday. And then on the Denver side of things, because I see people, dog walking me in the live chat about my preseason prediction. I'm not backing away from that. That defense is stellar, man. I get it. It's a slow start out of the gate. Bo Nix did not look great yesterday, Sarah. They were 2 for 13 on third down. That's not going to get it done whatsoever. And this literally looked like a form of what Greg Roman did in 2019, Sarah. They wanted to pound the rock. They wanted to dominate the time of possession, and that's what they did yesterday against this Denver team. So it's all coming together for them early on. We'll see if they can sustain it. Sometimes the Chargers have breakdowns and epic breakdowns late in the season. We'll see what kind of framework they have, what kind of resilience they have when they get punched in the mouth. But it's been a great start for them, and I'm just looking, man. I'm looking at some of the stats. They were going to. They're taking a page out of the 2019 Giro book. I mean, they wanted to rush the football. They didn't do anything crazy like the Ravens did in 2019 overall, statistically wise.
Right.
But they want to dominate you in the trenches. On the counter, by the way, just quickly.
Do you have the stats in front of you?
Yeah, it was only 106 yards on the ground.
What did J.K. Dobbins end up with?
Yeah, I was going to say I wanted to look at Denver real quick. That's actually where I was going because J.K. looked like, speaking of, I mean, he wasn't there in 2019. He was drafted in 2020. But remember, he broke some Ravens records, some Ravens rookie running back records, looking really good in his first year in Baltimore. And he looked like shades of that guy last night, Sarah, yesterday for them. He finished with 11 carries, 83 yards. He had an unbelievable touchdown grab from I guess it went down as a rushing touchdown. I guess it was a lateral to him. But awesome catch from Bo Nix to him. It was not on target. He caught that thing and put on a little bit of jukes and some speedster on tape there into the end zone. So good for JK. Not enough to ultimately get them across the finish line, but good start for the Chargers for sure.
Good start, but let's also remember there are levels. Ravens put up 40 per game, 23 here. I get it's a division rival, but Ravens put up 40 against the Browns defense, as we just mentioned. So there are levels to this, but I just want to be clear before we move on. So you're not backing down. You still feel like the Broncos, your prediction is the Broncos are going to win the AFC West? When you say you're not backing down?
Yeah. I'll go with that. Okay. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I think that defense, Sarah, can take them to great lengths. And Bo Nix looks to be in a little bit of is this third year for him? I was going to say a sophomore slump, but I think this is the third year for him. But anyway.
It's an uphill battle, Bobby. Chargers 3-0. Wins over Denver and Kansas City. So they're 3-0. Then Vegas, Denver, and Kansas City are all 1-2. So you think that the Chargers are going to lose the division?
Well, I'll tell you this. The division prediction doesn't look great right now, but I still see them. I feel okay about the wild card berth.
Yeah, playoff team. Yeah. But the whole disagreement was about winning the AFC West.
Yeah, I don't feel great about it right now. But
okay, but you're not backing down.
I can't lay down yet.
Okay,
yeah, I can't lay down yet. Okay. After 3 weeks, I can't lay down. Not yet.
All right, I get that. There's a little bit of pride there, I guess. Here, so here's what we're looking at in the AFC. If the playoffs started today, Baltimore would be the 7th and final seed. Obviously, they still got to play tonight. But we got the Chargers and Buffalo tied at number 1 with 3-0. Actually, and Colts are all 3-0. Those are the 3 undefeated teams. Then Cincinnati and Pittsburgh and Jacksonville at 2-1, and then the Ravens at 1-1. So that's where we're looking at the AFC through almost the full 3 weeks. We'll get to the full 3 weeks by the end of tonight.
Yeah, boy, those 1:00 slate games, Sarah, yesterday. I had red zone going, and it was just something else towards the end of like that window, which would have been, I don't know, like 4:15. Scott Hansen could barely even take a breath. So heck of a start there to week 3. And of course, it all comes down to tonight, like we said, 8:15 kickoff in Baltimore. And Sarah, man, the Discord group, I got an unbelievable photo last night that just made my heart happy. Before we transition to Super Chats, we're going to bring in Will Birchfield here in a couple minutes from 97.1 The Ticket to get the Detroit perspective. But Sarah, this is going to warm your heart like it warmed mine yesterday. Take a look at what occurred over the weekend.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, I will. Look at this. There was a VAULTRON meetup, and it looks like this. So this was shared by Jang for starters, and that's way too zoomed out. Hold on a second. I think you can see this.
Yeah,
It's
I can see it now. We're
PHB
good.
and his missus. It's Mr. and Mrs. Parkite's Prophet.
Got
You've
it.
got Jang flying in, and who else is here? That becomes Jang's got to help us out in the live chat to let us know. And we should know this. We just don't recognize them outside of their names in the live chat. But who else was a part of this group? So anyway, I say it to say everybody's revving their engines for tonight, Sarah, and it was awesome to see a VAULTRON meetup in Baltimore.
You're right. That does warm my heart. I love it. I love that the Vault is bringing people together. Or did they already know each other beforehand? I'm very curious. Did you guys already know each other, or have you met each other through the Vault? That's what we need to know.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jang's got all the answers. She's concurrently watching right now. So, Jang, let us know who else we got to give love to. We just got to – Linda's dropping bombs in the live chat right now. We got to get to Super Chats as quickly as possible. Jang, thank you so much to Parkites and Prophet and everybody for getting together. That was super cool to see, and I was really excited. Like, it just fired me up to get back to Baltimore, which I'm here, getting ready for the bank tonight. It's obviously darkness falls, and it's going to be one heck of a night inside M&T Bank Stadium. Sarah, Silent Wrath got us started all the way back when. And I believe, I want to say this is Eric, who now looks to be under, wait a second here.
Wait, you think this is Eric Hill?
I want to say so. Okay, wait a second.
Eric, let us know, because Eric's got himself. It's not Eric Hill, is it?
Nope, it's not, because he says, hello, everyone, first Super Chat. We know that Eric has given us a lot more than one Super Chat. We know that. Yeah. So Silent Wrath says, hello, everyone, first Super Chat. Love the show. I thought he was in disguise. I'm sorry, Silent Wrath. I hope Mark and Bate eat tonight. That from Silent Wrath gets us started way earlier this morning. And again, on top of that, he gifted 5 channel memberships.
Nice.
Eric Hill was not far behind him. And as the show began, it's a 50 burger. I don't have my actual mic with me. I don't want to strain anybody's ears.
Pull it to the side.
I'll just kind of pull it to the side, and I'll mute myself here for a second.
There we go.
And in Baltimore, I hope Tito, the massive dog that's upstairs, Jake and Farrah's dog, who I'm staying with, I hope he doesn't get alarmed here. Tilly's down in St. Pete with my neighbor that I barely know. The meatloaf! It's prime time! It's a 50 spot from Eric Hill, Sarah. And on top of that, this one's for you. It's a $50 Super Chat. We're rolling on this Monday. Why don't you take this one from EH?
The meatloaf is back again. It's back-to-back meatloafs. In case no one tells you today they love you, just know that I do. The first part of my mini road trip is complete, and I can't wait to meet some of you all today. Part 1, he says that's part 1. Remember, Eric Hill has like 4 other people to meet because he gave away 4 free tickets in the lower bowl last week with the giveaway.
Yes, that'll be... Oh, man, that'll be Sean Carter, and that'll be Jackie, right? And they're +1. So super cool. Section 126 is going to be buzzing with VAULTRONs coming up tonight. Eric, thank you so much for getting this show started with a bang, as did Silent Wrath earlier this morning. Sobblitz34 says he's here, and he says, Acho, meaning Emmanuel. In 2024, Henry is washed. That was the direct quote. I guess Sobblitz has receipts here. He then goes on to quote him again. Lamar is an MVP. He has Henry. In 2025, he's quoting Emmanuel saying D-Hop is washed. Quote, Allen is better because Lamar has D-Hop. Why he lost his vote. Sodblitz is getting after Emmanuel for MVP voting. Did he lose his vote? I hadn't heard that.
Well, I mean, he's no longer with like a network television program, so I don't know if that hurts him. So I don't know if that's been made official. Sod somehow knows all these small details here and there, so he could be right. But I did see that video, Sod, and I just didn't feel like we had time for that hogwash today. It's like, for real, like D-Hop was just with Patrick Mahomes. He was just with Patrick Mahomes. Could it be that Lamar Jackson is raising their games? And remember, D-Hop had, 11, 12 snaps total, and he's doing it with that? Come on now, give some credit to Lamar. Quit doing this.
Hey, and Saad, too, those are direct quotes. I don't know where those quotes were, so if you could just let the live chat know where you got those quotes, were you being sarcastic? Not sure on that. MM McBee, 1986. This one's for you.
Someone get in contact with Aaron Donald, SMH. No Nnamdi. We're going to get more into that, but yeah, things looking bleak for Nnamdi Madubuike.
Yeah, that's concerning, especially when it's neck related. We'll get into that, like you said, coming up later on. Ivory Smith II says, my birthday was yesterday, so I'm giving someone a gift. Ivory, happy belated to you. Sheree drops a 50 burger inside this vault. Man, today is going to be something. You're just getting that energy, Sarah. Why don't you read this while I gather myself? It's a 50 burger from Sheree.
Sheree says, bringing the husband and my 11-year-old son to his first Ravens game. Awesome. He's going to lose it when he sees Lamar. I'm a Baltimore native living in Atlanta now. So excited. I will be in sparkly Ravens gear behind the end zone, and I will see the Voltrons in Lot G. Love it. I want as many people meeting up in Lot G or be more around town with you, Bobby, as possible.
I need a local meatloaf. I need some local meatloaf. Baltimore local. Thank you, Sheree, for such a generous gift. Ivory, as he said he would, is gifting one in honor of his birthday, which was yesterday. Eric writes, now with that being said, going back to his earlier message and the 50 burger and the $50 super chat, writes, let's start the week with a bomb, firework, whatever.
Bang.
Hashtag stop to 22. Hashtag 6K for LJ, a bang, a bomb, a firework, you name it. Eric Hill's bringing all that and more into game day today, as is Sarah Douglas H. Brown Sr. A little tardy. That's okay. I think we'll forgive him. This one's for you.
He says, I'm a little late, but I am here. Happy to be here. Love my family, and we love you.
Yes, we do. Love the hat, too. Trenton Russell has gifted a Voltron channel membership on this Monday. Dre Dog's in the house, who says, our defense has been slow to make adjustments. Justin being out, meaning Nnamdi, I sadly don't see the Ravens winning this one, going 35-30 Lions. Sure hope I'm wrong. Sarah and I, of course, will share our predictions coming up later on in the show. Dre Dog has his out there. He's calling his shot. Trenton Russell has gifted a super chat today. And Manuel's Gaming Channel, Sarah, that's Manny, a.k.a. the one who booked Mina Kimes last week.
That's right. He says day 3 for Kay Adams, meaning he had been going after Mina Kimes. What was it, 55 days, something like that, consecutive? So now he's got 3 days consecutive for Kay Adams and day 2 for Stephen A. Smith. He says, let's get it.
Manny, you are something else, man. He is so committed. Wildlife Wale says, we in all black tonight. Enough said. WW checking in. And why don't we do this? Let's get Parkite's profit up on the screen right now. Sarah, you'll read that one, and then we'll bring in our guest here in just a minute.
Right. So PHP says the grill is on. Now, Bobby, I really wish I could have some of this cooking, this grill cooking from PHP. It says, see you in Lot G about 4 p.m. I should be in the front corner closest to the light rail. We will be hard to miss. I am off and on today, but here comes 2-1. We win. He says he predicts 44-20, hashtag 19-1, hashtag no picks, hashtag 40-point boys.
All right. At Lot G, you know where he's going to be. Will, why don't you just give us a thumbs up when you're ready to go on your side of things? And again, Lot G is where Parkite's profit and this Voltron community will be. I will be at the Be More Around Town tailgate lot, Sarah, as I've mentioned a couple times now. That is located at 801 West Austin Street. It's on the Fed Hill side of M&T Bank Stadium. And there's a code right now that Brian Snyder gave to me. Bobby5 gets you $5 off your entry if you want to pop in there and come say hello at the Be More Around Town tailgate. All right, let's get some Detroit perspective here. Will Birchfield is 97.1 the tickets own. He writes, he talks, he covers the Detroit Lions out there in Michigan. And let's bring him in to get his thoughts on this blockbuster matchup, at least on paper, Will. It wasn't a couple years ago, but we hope selfishly just for a good game, or at least I do. I know there's not a lot of people in this live chat right now that want a good game, so to speak. But first of all, great to have you inside the vault. My co-host, Sarah Ellison, with me as well. And Will, how are you doing today on this Monday?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me. Where'd you find that photo of me in the USA hat? That's a beaut.
You know, I Googled you. I got down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and I said, you know what? What the heck? This is good for USA football tonight. I mean, if this one lives up to expectations, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, nothing says America like Monday Night Football. So I'm on board, baby. Let's go.
Sarah, get on in.
All right. Well, nice to meet you, Will. So one question that we always ask, especially for NFC teams that we're not able to follow as closely as some of the AFC North and AFC teams, kind of give us a big picture look at how Detroit's coming into this game. Kind of what's their state 3 weeks in? Are they feeling, I know that they've, not undefeated, had some wins and a loss. Kind of like what is their attitude coming into the game tonight?
I mean, they're in a much better state now than they were after week 1 when they got trounced on the road by the Packers and left that game with all sorts of questions. They answered, at least in week 2, a couple of them, and that the offensive line, which has been the strength of this team for 3-4 years running, played much better, much more cohesively than it did in week 1, and in that the pass rush showed up. The pass rush was non-existent in that Packers game. Just a handful of pressures on Jordan Love, just a couple quarterback hits, but it finally got going in the second half against the Bears once the Lions opened that lead and forced the Bears to pass, and those pass rushers, not just Hutchinson, were able to pin their ears back, as coaches like to say, and really get after Caleb Williams. So I think that the mood and tone in this city is much more optimistic than it was, say, at this time a week ago.
Yeah, well, speaking of mood and tone and the days that led up to today, as you probably know, covering this team, the question about 2023 came up over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And what I've done here is compiled 5 of Jared Goff's answers to questions related to that matchup, which of course was played in Baltimore. I want to get your reaction to this. Here is Jared, courtesy of Lions Media.
Remember about the 2023 game?
But they got after us early and often, and yeah, we certainly remember that.
What can you draw from that 2023 game? If anything, like you go back and watch that tape, is there any value in that?
That you?
Yeah, maybe some motivation value that we just kind of went in there and they took it to us. I think we've got a lot of respect for their team and their coaches and the way they've gone about their business for a long time, and I'd like to feel they feel the same way about us, but we got to go in there and prove it and show them that we obviously can hang with them and we're a great team, and in that instance we didn't, so certainly have a little bit to prove this week.
A lot's changed in 2 years. How much do you feel like you guys have changed since that Baltimore game last?
Yeah, we've grown up a little bit. Absolutely, we've matured. We've gotten another 36, 40 games or so under our belt since then, and they're a different team. We're a different team. I don't know if that game speaks much to this game, other than maybe provides a little bit of extra juice for us. But yeah, I don't think there's much other than that to carry over.
Obviously, you always want to start games hot, but given what happened in that game, is there more urgency to make sure that you don't fall behind quickly?
That game was 2 years ago, and that's question number 5. Yes, but yeah, you're right. And I've played these guys a couple times now, a few times, and I played them in LA, and I think it was a very similar type of game where they were up on us early, and they can do that. With Lamar and the offense they got, they can start out fast and get hot. So our defense, we're relying on them to play well, and then we got to play well on our part too offensively.
Okay, so just to be clear, you were one of the culprits there.
Yeah, I was question number 2, though. So Jared wasn't at his wit's end yet when I asked. I made sure to get mine in early and then let someone else take the fall for hammering home that topic a few too many times. I do agree with Jared. That's almost two full years in the rear view, but it does still serve as some fuel for this team. As he said, I think a lot of people point to the defense and the way that they got shredded last time they went down there by Lamar and by that offense before it had even added Derrick Henry. But the offense was just as complicit in that route. Their first 7 drives that day were either 3 and outs or turnovers. And that's exactly how you fall behind 28-0. It's not common that a 38-6 game actually is closer than it really was. That felt like that day. That doesn't even do proper justice to how thoroughly the Ravens dominated the Lions that day. And Dan Campbell's teams are nothing if not resilient. They certainly have had this one stored away and sort of gnawing at them for a couple years now. And I'm sure when the schedule was released this offseason, this was one of the first games that coaching staff and this roster circled. So I do expect a much more competitive game tonight.
Yes, and obviously the Lions are trying to do everything they can to make sure it is more competitive. And it's not just the Lions. The NFC has a really hard time with Lamar Jackson because he is so different, and you just don't get to prepare for him very often. But the Lions signed Malik Cunningham off of the Ravens practice squad to try to maybe get some information, have him play Lamar Jackson. Lots of people have tried different things. So, A, do you think Malik Cunningham can really give, any type of real impact? And B, what do you expect to change this time around so that it is more competitive?
Yeah, I thought it was a nice notion that when Dan Campbell was asked this week about Malik Cunningham, he was like, we really value him as a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys really foresee a role for Malik Cunningham as a wide receiver? He also acknowledged that, look, they valued the fact that Cunningham could give them some unique, maybe pseudo Lamar Jackson looks in practice this past week. But as Alex Anzalone said, who's the most experienced defensive player on the roster, there's really no way to prepare for Lamar Jackson other than having played Lamar Jackson. And we saw what we saw last time these two teams met. I think one difference we might see tonight is the Lions just committing more resources to the box to try and slow down the Ravens rushing attack, which obviously is two-headed in Lamar and Derrick Henry. And that's not something that they were able to do with the roster they had back in 2023. Their two starting cornerbacks that game, if I'm not mistaken, were Cam Sutton, who was vastly overcast as a number one corner here, and Jerry Jacobs or maybe Kendall Vildor. The Lions feel much better now about their starting corners in DJ Reed and Terrion Arnold, who was obviously a first-round pick last year. Those two guys have not played up to their standard in coverage so far this season, but I do think, at least on paper, the Lions like the idea of being able to send more resources, devote more defenders to stopping the run, and hoping that those two corners and maybe Amik Robertson can hold up on islands if they have to against Zay Flowers. By the way, shout out Boston College, Zay Flowers, proud Boston College alum myself. And obviously Hopkins is still a big play threat on the other side. The other piece that I think is worth mentioning here is that when they played the Ravens back in 2023, Brian Branch was still a relative unknown in the NFL. He was still coming into his own. He is now the NFC's version in a lot of ways of Kyle Hamilton. He can do everything from the safety position. I bet if you ask Kyle Hamilton, he would maybe even acknowledge that because Branch certainly acknowledges Hamilton's presence in the AFC. And one of the reasons the Lions have been so dominant against the run over the past 2+ seasons since Branch showed up is that he has the ability to play, much like Hamilton does, in man coverage in the slot. And so the Lions can stay in base defense when offenses go 11 personnel, 3 receivers, where most teams would have to account for that by going lighter in like nickel or dime packages and potentially take a linebacker off the field. He allows them to stay in base defense against personnel groupings like that. And I'm not sure he had established that. Actually, he hadn't established that part of his game yet back in 23. So I think the Lions just feel like they might be able to match up a little bit better, counter the Ravens rushing attack a little bit better than they were 2 years ago.
Well, there's one, obviously, Baltimore defensive factor here that I don't think can go unnoticed or not talked about, and that is Nnamdi Madubuike being down. He's been ruled out with a neck injury. Definitely a certain level of a downtick in morale, if you will, because there's some uncertainty in terms of the severity of what this is moving forward. But what we know in the here and now is that he's not going to be available tonight. And so to me, one of the things I'm going to be looking at closely from the jump is, can Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery effectively run between the tackles? And if that's the case, then there's a soft spot in the interior part of this Ravens defense up front, because as you see on the numbers here compiled by Ken, they're very different without 92 out there. And you take a look at what he's done through the first couple weeks, 10 total pressures, 2 sacks. You combine the rest of that defensive front, 7 total, his peers, 7 total pressures, no sacks through 2 weeks. He has been, in a lot of ways, their defense. And I wonder how they're going to attack this potential vulnerable weak link, knowing that he's down.
Yeah, to me, that was a bigger piece of news in regard to this game than Kyle Van Noy not being available. And that's not to undermine Van Noy, who's obviously been a great pass rusher in this league for a long time. But anytime the Lions enter matchups against opposing defenses with elite D tackles, those are always the guys, without fail, that Dan Campbell mentions first in like his opposing team scouting report. He knows exactly how much a player like Madubuike can disrupt a game plan on the ground and in the air, because, the Lions would like to believe that when healthy, they have a guy like that in Aleem McNeil. And I am sure that when they got the word that Madubuike was inactive for this game, they felt more confident about their ability to establish the way they want to play on offense, which is to run the ball insistently and firmly between the tackles to set up that play action pass, because no quarterback over the past 3 seasons has been better in play action than Jared Goff. That is when he is at his very best. And, we saw it last week. I don't think the Lions ran the ball great between the tackles last week. Like, the interior run game probably still left a bit to be desired, but they were able to run the ball to the edge as well, which eventually forced the Bears to bring more players to the box. And when they did that, and when they bid on play action fakes, Jared Goff had a field day. I mean, he threw for as many touchdowns as he had incompletions, which was something he made a bit of a norm of last year. Like, we've almost grown numb to how incredible Goff has been for a couple of years now. So that is game changing, especially against an interior offensive line that is still unproven, a little bit unsettled. In some ways, the Lions have 3 new starters there between the 2 guards, one of whom's a rookie in Tate Ratledge, the other of whom is a second-year player with just 2 starts under his belt entering this year, and Christian Mahogany. And the center, Graham Glasgow, is kind of a repurposed guard. So that, to me, still feels like the weak link of what has been the Lions' strength, but not having Madubuike certainly compromises the Ravens' ability to take advantage of that matchup.
Yeah, and that'll play into kind of like this idea here. We've got 2 teams that are among the top 3 in scoring offenses. So the Ravens averaging 40.5 points per game, Lions 32.5. Meanwhile, they're both in the, mid to upper 20s in terms of points per game for defense. Between these 2 offenses, and maybe Madubuike affects your answer to this, which offense do you feel like has the edge?
Any offense with Lamar Jackson always has the edge. Like, it's a pretty simple answer. And look, I've watched the Lions routinely put up 30, 40, and 50 on teams for the past 2 seasons, even 3 seasons. I know this is as loaded of an offense as there is in the NFL, but Lamar Jackson is the boogeyman. I mean, like, there's no way around it. And I think the Ravens, have enough talent on the offensive line, and obviously plenty around him, that I would never choose an offense without Lamar over an offense with Lamar. Maybe it's a simplistic answer, but I saw what I saw in 2023, and I've seen what I've seen for 4 years now. I was just marveling at his production when I looked this week. It's incredible for a guy who had a lot to prove when he arrived in Baltimore, at least to those who said he wasn't cut out to be a quarterback, who said he wasn't skilled enough as a passer. If he retired today, would have the highest career passer rating in NFL history. And that's before mentioning what he can do with his legs. And that's before mentioning what Derrick Henry can do. El Tractorcito. So yeah, I just think the ways the Ravens can stress you is really unmatched in the NFL. I thought Lions safeties coach Jim O'Neill might have said it best this week, and you might hear my dog barking in the background now, so apologies. But they can basically run 4 different offenses because of everything that Lamar can do, and maybe the most dangerous of those is what he can do out of structure. When the play breaks down and he goes to create something on his own, sometimes leads to the most explosive plays. So long way of saying I'll take any offense with Lamar.
Well, I don't know who's ingratiating himself more so to our audience and this Ravens fan base, you or Detroit's defensive coordinator, Kelvin Shepard, who had this to say about Lamar. Listen to this. We'll get your reaction on the other side.
Lamar do well everything. What does he not do well? Nothing. I mean, he could beat you all different ways. Run game, pass game. Pass game, he could do it in the pocket, out of the pocket. So, I mean, it's why he's who he is, multi-year MVP in this league. and have the utmost respect for this player. He's a dynamic player in this league, and he's hard to prepare for. I've gotten a lack of sleep this week due to him, so I make sure I let him know that after this game.
When you face somebody like that, do you almost have to just – he's so dynamic out of the pocket, not only running but throwing the ball too. Is it one of those situations where, if he drops back, Shep, and he throws for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, you tip your cap and you move on, but you got to find one way to stop him and not let him kind of do multiple things?
No, I wouldn't be tipping my cap 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. I don't think any of us would be tipping our cap to that stat. But no, I know what you mean, Tim, like trying to make them one-dimensional, so to say. And it's hard to do. The fact they've added D. Henry, it only doubled down on it. Like, it's hard to make this team one-dimensional. You just got to go in with a plan that we've created as a staff that we feel gives our players an opportunity to go out and have success against this unit. I mean, they're dynamic.
You get the point. He goes on and on and on. So both of you guys, by the way, in pretty good standing, I think, within this fan base. So to start, but
I'm not trying to make any enemies on here, bro. Come on, it's a Monday. I don't have time for that.
Hey, it's Darkness Falls tonight for a reason. You got to be careful when you're walking around the bank for tonight. This is going to be something else. But no, I think it goes without saying, right? His respect, as you sort of put, is now universal. The respect for him, not just as a running quarterback, but as the full-fledged quarterback, now appears to be universal in year 8.
Yeah, Jared Goff said it himself this week, and he was like, obviously he gets a lot of attention for what he can do with his legs, but I don't think he gets enough attention for how good he's been with his arm, and reference those stats over the past 3-4 seasons. And in fact, over the past 3 seasons, I will point out that the NFL leader in passing yards is Jared Goff. And the NFL leader in passing touchdowns is Jared Goff. And number 2 and 3 in both those categories are Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. So let's be clear here. Like, Goff is no slouch himself chucking the ball, but he wanted to point out that Lamar has been every bit as productive as any passing quarterback in the NFL. And I mean, 71 touchdowns to 11 interceptions over the past 3 years? Like, that's stupid. That's Madden, like video game like production. So I do think, and I'm not just saying this as a Boston College alum myself, I do think that the addition of Zay Flowers has added another dangerous element to this offense, because he's such a difficult cover one-on-one. And we'll see if that falls to either DJ Reed or Terrion Arnold tonight. But whoever draws most of that matchup is going to have their hands full. And I would guess it would be DJ Reed. I think he's a little bit quicker, a little bit twitchier in coverage than say Arnold. And maybe that's the matchup the Lions prefer, but I really believe that the Lions' success on defense tonight, for all of the focus on stopping Lamar and D. Henry, comes down to what those 2 outside corners can do in one-on-one coverage in what I expect to be all night long. So we'll see how that shakes out.
All right, well, we'll try to get you out of here on this. Overall, biggest key to the game and your prediction on who wins.
Yeah, I feel like I just maybe hit on the biggest key to the game. That's really what I'm watching is how well the Lions can hold up outside one-on-one while they devote extra defenders to stopping the run. And then offensively for the Lions is, how does this offensive line hold up in another raucous environment? They were really thrown out of flux playing in Green Bay in week 1. They had a number of blown assignments that just stemmed from miscommunications, not being able to either hear or be able to get on the same page in the silent count. That happened over and over again in that game, and including one time on the goal line, their own goal line, where they made a kill at the line of scrimmage and 3 linemen got it and 2 didn't, and 2 went left, 3 went right, and a defensive tackle was entirely unblocked. And David Montgomery had the greatest 1-yard loss run of his career to avoid a safety. And that was just one example of a number of miscommunications that were mostly a product of playing in a noisy stadium, and they can expect the same thing tonight. So the offensive line did bounce back at home in the comfortable confines of Ford Field last week, but I'm curious to see how they respond to the next road challenge. So I think this is a closer game. I think this is a back and forth kind of game where these two teams potentially trade scores, maybe even trade touchdowns for most of the game. I think it's another high-scoring affair for the Ravens. I think it also is for the Lions, especially with Madubuike and Van Noy out. it's a cliche, but maybe this comes down to which team has the ball last. In the end, I just think that the strain Lamar and Derrick Henry put on this Lions defense is a little bit too much for Detroit to overcome. I picked yesterday on our pregame show on Fox 2, Ravens 38, Lions 31. I'll be a man of my word and stick to that and try and make a few more friends in Baltimore. My last time in town, I hit Camden Yards and was crushing Natty Bows. So I feel like I'm already won with Baltimore, man.
Are you here now?
I'm not. No, I'm going to watch this one from the comfort of my home with maybe a beer in hand, an Narragansett lager. But no, I'm not there, unfortunately. But I trust you guys to enjoy it on your own.
We will. It's Monday night primetime home games. John Harbaugh's had a gripe about this for years. Don't come around all that often since he took over. So if it lives up to the billing, it's going to be a good one, especially with your prediction. Let everybody know we got your Twitter. We got your mug up there. Let's give your mug some love here once more.
There it is.
But let everybody know, Will, just over the next few hours, if they want more of you from a Detroit perspective to get ready for the opponent, where they can find some of your work coming up.
Yeah, I mean, you can hear me on the airwaves here on 97.1 The Ticket, which is the Lions flagship. You can catch me on Fox 2 on the pregame, postgame coverage. You can find my work on 97onetheticket.com, or you can just ignore me. You also have that option. But yeah, you can find me kind of all over the place. But yeah, I'm fired up tonight, man. There should be an awesome game between two juggernauts in their respective conferences, and I think the two best safeties in the NFL are sharing the field tonight in Kyle Hamilton and Brian Branch. And maybe this game comes down to which of those two makes the most plays. I think Brian Branch is the Lions' best counter to Lamar. And if they win this game, if they have a way to winning this game, it is by Brian Branch playing like NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Like I actually firmly believe that if they do happen to win, Branch will be NFC Defensive Player of the Week come tomorrow. So we'll see. I still like the Ravens tonight, but the Lions do have some talent that they didn't have fully developed a couple of years ago to answer all of the questions that the Ravens pose on offense.
All right, dude. We appreciate your time, man. Enjoy it tonight.
Yeah, all right, guys. Yeah. I appreciate you guys having me on. We'll talk soon, hopefully.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
Will.
Hope so. Will Birchfield from 97.1 The Ticket for the Detroit perspective. And I wasn't lying, Sarah. I think he made a lot of friends over the last 20 minutes or so,
Listen, he gave love to Lamar, which is going to make Baltimore happy, predict a Ravens win, which is going to make Baltimore happy. So, but it sounds like he did that on his own show. So it's not just to play to the audience. And so, no, I think he made some good points. That was like my number one question is like, what has changed about Detroit to make this a closer game? Because everybody was saying the same thing last time. They were both two hot teams. We expected it to be much closer, and the Ravens just blew them out. It's just so hard to prepare for Lamar Jackson, especially your first time. But, he's got some compelling points. Brian Branch, I remember the other day when Rod Woodson was on with Kay Adams, and he mentioned Brian Branch up there with Derwin and Kyle Hamilton as some of the best safeties in the league. So, that's different. He feels like they can stack the box more. The Browns did the same thing, and they were able to shut down the run, but Lamar was still able to take over. He feels like maybe their corners would be the key then. Can DJ, do you say Reed and Arnold, can they be the ones to do it? So, and then Hutchinson is there. So, I mean, they've got some names over there on defense, but so does a lot of other teams, and it's still hard to slow down Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. So, but Bobby, the news about Madubuike came out after our last show. Things did sound ominous with John Harbaugh.
They did. They certainly did. It's a neck. It popped up randomly. Remember, Sarah, last week we talked about it on Wednesday, which was a normal week for them, right? It's a day behind. So we didn't get injury reports till Thursday this week. And so you're thinking, okay, on Thursday we were like, okay, that's the Wednesday of this week. That's practice number 1. Is it just a vet day? Did he get a vet day the week before? I don't know about the week before, but it certainly wasn't a vet week this week for Nnamdi.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah, he had played in, I think, 50 consecutive games dating back to the pandemic where he missed some time for COVID-related policies that were in effect back then. He has been durable. And while 2024 was a far cry from 2023, which paid him handsomely after a double-digit sack campaign, Pass rush win rate was through the roof. He was a monster for Mike McDonald in the middle. I don't think we should just look past what he did in 2024. Like, yeah, 5.5 or 6.5 sacks, whatever it was, doesn't pop off the page. But the opponents on the offensive side of the ball schemed to make sure that anybody else besides 92 beat him. And you saw that with reflection to the double team snaps and just how much went into the attention to detail to take Madubuike out of the game. They had a tremendous level of respect for him, which led to a lesser 2024. He's been anything but the first 2 weeks. I mentioned the numbers when we had Will on a couple minutes ago. 10 pressures already and 2 sacks. The entire defensive front as a whole, outside of that, have had 7 combined pressures and no sacks. 92's been a beast. And not having him out there, Sarah, it's next men up. It's not next man up. It's next men up. It's going to be by committee to replace the production that he's given them so far through the first couple weeks. That means, hey, Big Rook. Hey, Aeneas, it's your time, Big Fub. Yeah. Like, it's your time. Hey, Travis Jones, it's time for you to show everybody why you're the next up in terms of extensions, right? Potential eligibility extensions for Eric DeCosta and company, knowing that he's put some really good stuff out on tape in the interior part of that front. He's a run stuffer specialist. They're going to need him tonight, Sarah, because if Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery, their 1-2 punch at running back, can run between the tackles. That's why I asked Will the question.
Yep.
It could be a long night in terms of the Ravens defense, who have been susceptible to big pass. And if they're starting to get that kind of production interior, then Jared's going to go to his play action game. And the Ravens offense is going to be in a position where they got to hang 40 plus again to win this game.
And listen, people have been calling for the Travis Jones breakout season for a couple years now.
Yeah.
And so now it's going to be big time on him. And to your point, Aeneas Peebles or Fub, he's been playing well just through 2 weeks as a rookie. So, hey, I mean, it's always going to be, like you said, next man up, and this is a big opportunity. But what's interesting, Bobby, we're talking about it in the context of this game. The way John Harbaugh was talking, they may have to deal with this long after this Detroit Monday Night Football game.
I really can't share any details on the injury itself, but it's something that they're looking at. You know, he came up with some symptoms after the game. Nothing specific in the game where we saw it actually happen. But they're dealing with the symptoms and they're testing right now. So he will be ruled out for this game, and they're going to try to get to the bottom of it.
And so he was later asked if Madubuike will be put on IR, and he said, we're not ready to make that decision yet, but all the signs are there. All the signs are there. And again, IR doesn't necessarily mean season ending, but it would be for several weeks, and it definitely shows how serious the situation is. Meanwhile, Rasheen Ali did come back as a full participant last Saturday. And so he will be cleared to go, which probably means that Keaton Mitchell will not go again. John Harbaugh was asked about him. I'll get a quote on that. Marlon Humphrey was full. John Jenkins was full. Isaiah Likely still limited, but he's declared out. Nnamdi out. Patrick Ricard out again. Kyle Van Noy out. And then Nate Wiggins didn't even have an injury designation because he was full. So lots of big names that the Ravens are missing as they go into this heavyweight battle tonight. They've got the men to do it. They've got the depth. They've got it. Are they going to be up for the challenge on Monday night? We will see. You feel like they are, but again, Nnamdi Madubuike, that's big shoes to fill.
It is.
Literally and figuratively.
For sure. For sure. A couple thoughts on this.
Okay.
And we'll know more coming up tonight, of course. I would suspect that Brent Urban is going to get a call up.
Mm-hmm.
I would also suspect that on the opposite side of the ball, Zaire Mitchell-Payton, the undrafted rookie tight end, who's been called up, Sarah, on game day the last couple weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if they use the third and final standard activation on him, which would put them in a position where, God forbid, they need him next week, and it sure looks like Isaiah will return at Arrowhead, you'd like to think at least, barring any setback or whatnot. Then they won't even need to worry about adding Zaire to the 53-man roster, right? Because Isaiah will be back. Now, who knows what Ricard's situation is, and that could dictate what they do with Zaire moving forward.
I was going to say, Zaire feels more like a fill-in for Ricard than he does for Isaiah Likely.
I hear you on that. Yeah. And and I guess if you've been watching the alignment of Zaire, that probably fills that hole a little bit more.
But it doesn't matter because Isaiah likely already has a 53-man roster spot. So it would be if they put Nnamdi Madubuike on IR, then Zaire could get that if he's still going to be filling in for Patrick Ricard.
Sure. And then they've gone away from Lucas Scott, right? They haven't chosen to go the traditional fullback route. And Zaire has picked up a lot of blocking coverages as a result. So, yeah, I would suspect those names to be called up from the practice squad today if I'm a betting man. And then I guess there weren't really many other surprises when it comes to this. But the big deal is here, both of these teams have some signature players that are out, Sarah. Marcus Davenport's an edge rusher for them. He's out on the Detroit side of things, as is KVN. Where the balance, where the pendulum starts to shift a little bit in favor of Detroit, even though the Ravens are a lot more highly skilled roster-wise, in my opinion, is the Madubuike injury. And that kind of remains to be seen, whether or not this group, and you saw those Ken McCusick stats that we had up during Will's interview, this defense looks and performs differently so far this year without Nnamdi. And so that'll be a big domino coming up tonight.
Well, one person not on this injury report list is Jair Alexander. And so John Harbaugh was asked, okay, well, could we be seeing him? And is this kind of a collaborative decision between you, him, and the trainers?
It's been an honest dialogue. It's just a really good conversation. He, myself, and Chuck, and Sam Rosengarten have all been involved in this, along with, obviously, the trainers. But he's doing great. And, you know, it's going to be sooner rather than later, I'll tell you that much. He's practicing. It's coming along really well, and he's chomping at the bit for sure. And I just want to be fair to him, and do the right thing.
So I don't know, the way you said I want to be fair to him and do the right thing kind of signaled to me he may not go tonight, but I could be wrong. We'll find out tonight. And then lastly, he was asked about Keaton Mitchell. John Harbaugh said, we just don't have the spot right now. In some ways, that's a good problem to have, but I would much rather see him out there and see him active. And then he went on to say that Rasheen Ali's special teams tips the scales in his favor. And I think and that's not just kickoff returns. Rasheen Ali does coverage. He's a gunner, all that type of stuff. And then Justice Hill, even though he hasn't probably been at his best as he was last year, Justice Hill for sure has the edge when it comes to pass protection. So that's why Keaton Mitchell's out. But boy, oh boy, would I also like to see him out there. So now that we've covered all those injuries, Bobby, we've covered Madubuike. We just talked to Will. Should we get into our predictions really quick for tonight?
Yeah, I think so. Why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, so I am concerned about Madubuike. I do think this will be closer than last time. That being said, I'm with Will. I just don't know how you can stop all the facets of this offense. I thought he said it really well, that the Ravens can really look like 4 different offenses any given game. And I think that Todd Monken, especially last week we saw it, he's able to adjust on the fly. I think that's one of the good things about him as an offensive coordinator, although he hasn't always done it perfectly. AFC Championship game against Kansas City. But I think like last week, he showed that he can adjust. And so even if the Lions do come out with like a great game plan, then you just switch into one of your other offenses. And so I'm going to go with the Ravens. I'm going to say I'll go 35-27.
That is hysterical. We didn't talk about this in our pre-show. We're going with the exact same score. That's hysterical because I got to keep myself honest based on what I put on my notes. So we're both going 35-27. Spoiler alert. And I'm going to keep my analysis short and sweet because of timing purposes. I'm just going to let you listen to Derrick Henry talk about his performance, Sarah, against the Cleveland Browns last week. Okay, where he was held significantly, limited, I should say, is the right word.
20 some odd yards.
And to me, this right, I think it was 27, maybe 45 or somewhere around there as a team. This right here, I think, is an indication of what's to come. That ain't happening 2 weeks in a row. Listen to Derrick in a media scrum earlier this week.
What are you hoping to see differently out of the run game this week after last week?
Be better, and that never happened again. Continue to get better. Myself first, be better with the football and be more efficient, be more explosive, and us just getting better each and every day and letting it translate each and every week.
Do you feel when watching it was because it looked like the Browns, their focus was, hey, we're going to stop the run. But from your vantage point, do you feel it was more your guys than what they did, or was it more what they did that provided the final results?
How I look at it, I always look at myself first. I never look at another man and saying what they did wrong. I always pointing the finger at me, saying I need to be better. If they're stopping the run, there's no way to go, then make one. And I feel like I didn't do that well, and I need to do better at that. But as a whole, we just gonna focus on keep getting better, and I need to be better, and that's my focus.
I'm gonna go with that one, and we're gonna move along. How about that? 35-27 for reasons that we've all sort of, between you, me, Will, we've all sort of addressed. I think they get it done tonight. I do think they will be susceptible, Sarah, to the big play at times. And I think a lot of that is going to be because Detroit's going to establish some form of ground game, knowing that 92 is down. But they'll settle in, and you're going to get those big-time performances in the trenches from Travis Jones like you'd suspect. And I think Peoples is going to step up. But because of the diversity that they have, a rushing attack that doesn't just necessarily need to run between the tackles. They got some outside zone run calls for Gibbs, and I think that's where the Ravens could be susceptible. And if you start to see some success there early, Jared's going to do what he wants to do. He can be surgical, as we know. I know some people don't want to acknowledge this, but in the play action game, he's got a plethora of receivers around him and pass catchers, including Sam Laporta, who you forget about the tight end position. So ultimately, I think they're going to get theirs, but the Ravens get more of theirs, 35-27.
I'll just say something real quick. I love that he said, I hope it doesn't happen again. And he has the right professional attitude that I always look at myself first. And then he's going to call himself out before he calls out others. That's the right way to go about it. Therefore, as somebody in the media, I will say it for him. Andrew Voorhees, you better step up and create some lanes. Janiel Fa'alele, appreciate you in the pass blocking, but the running lanes, they could use some help on the right side. They kept coming over to your side, and there were no lanes open. Voorhees and Fa'alele, let's step up in the run blocking game.
Well said. Appreciate you guys, and appreciate Will for coming on as today's featured guest. We've got over 3,400, big show on this Monday, over 3,400 concurrents. Please like the video on your way in, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member, gift-giving membership. There's been a ton of huge donations today that are ultimately allowing this channel to grow. So thank you so much. We'll get back to some super chats and talk about a philosophical change that John Harbaugh sat down with Scott Van Pelt on recently. But Lewis gets us kickstarted back into the super chats, and he writes, done with work early and headed down soon to Lot G. Wow, it is not even 1:30 yet, and Lewis wants to go down to Lot G. Let's go, Lewis. We love this. The profile photo, Linda E. This was almost an hour ago at this point, so Linda, let's make sure we give you your due, and I'm going to go ahead and take a quick swig of water, and Sarah's going to read this $100 red super chat.
She says, it's fall equinox, new beginnings, positive vibes only. Victory will be ours. Cue the meatloaf.
I need some local to Baltimore meatloaf. That's right. I need some local to the 410 or 443 meatloaf. So, Ma, some local meatloaf. Run it. Thank you so much, Linda. And Jang, Sarah, as we asked, again, almost an hour ago, related to this Discord VAULTRON meetup that was awesome to see over the weekend. Jang says Tisha, Travis, D-Wiz, and Damien were the rest of the crew, joining Jang herself and Mr. and Mrs. PHP. We met each other through the vault. And
okay, so they didn't know each other beforehand. This is awesome.
Friggin' awesome. This. Jang, thank you so much for sharing that. The Discord group is an awesome place to hang, guys. If you want to join, you can do so by going to the show notes.
By the way, Jang lives in Utah, right?
I want to say she does.
I want to say Park City. Jang, I'm going to be in Midway during the bye week. We still need to talk about this because it's my parents' 60th wedding anniversary. Don't think there's going to be time to meet just because I've got to give the time to my parents. I'm only going to be there for a couple of days, but I will be in the area for sure. I'm going to go to the crater to go swimming. Utah Crater up there. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, should be fun.
Maybe Jane can pass along a few itinerary pieces, even though you're relatively familiar with the area. And just in case people weren't around in the beginning of the live show, there they are. There's the crew. Mr. and Mrs. PHP, Tisha, Travis, D-Wiz, Damien, all shared by Jang in the Discord server. Thank you guys so much for sharing that. It literally warms our hearts because of how unique that is and the fact that you guys all met in this community. Wildlife Wale, Sarah.
Hashtag VAULTRON meetup in St. Croix this offseason. Sure.
How about it? Tropical meetup for the crew. Trennan is here with a super chat. Appreciate you, TR. Eric Hill says Silent Night is me, but I like to play on words. Silent Wrath. So Silent Night is me, but I like the play on words. Silent Wrath. And so, okay, so he isn't, beginning with our first donor today. This is not Eric.
Right.
He's Silent Night, which is why I was confused. Okay. Thank you.
Got it.
Thanks, Eric.
Well, love to Silent Wrath.
And Isaiah.
Darkness falls tonight.
Take another one to Sean Davis in the crowd.
Columbus, Ohio VAULTRON meetup. I know there's plenty of us. I'd be down for that.
Led by the ultimate spearheader herself. Trennan
go.
Russell says, Sarah, you owe us a big woof. Hashtag Vault. Hashtag Vaultrons for life. Sarah Hewitt.
What do I owe it for? Wolf is usually for something bad. But okay. Wolf.
Eric Hill. Oh my gosh. I somehow this was slipped in during our interview. And this goes back to, holy crap, is this his second of the day? Eric already gifted us a $50 spot. And I thought this was, you know what's weird? This timestamp is showing 11:58 a.m., meaning we already read this. And for whatever reason, it's jumped ahead now to the 12 o'clock hour. But just because we love you, Eric, and because you gifted 4 freaking tickets to this game tonight, which, by the way, in the lower bowl, just so everyone's clear, are not exactly economical tonight to sit in the lower bowl, to say it very mildly. So because of that and a whole lot more, local meatloaf, local meatloaf. Sod blitz for you. Going back to earlier on.
Wait, if it's local meatloaf, do you sub out the beef for crab? Would that taste good?
I'm just so happy to be here.
That's crab cakes. I feel like that's crab cakes. Okay. So Sod Blitz said he was paraphrasing, but on Speakeasy, his YouTube show. So, okay, yeah. I just know that in general, people have said that D-Hop was washed, and people have said in general that Derrick Henry was washed. I just didn't remember if Acho himself said something to the effect of they are washed. But I for sure know he was using them against Lamar, for sure.
He also adds on to that, not with FS1, who had the vote, not him personally. Not with FS1, who had the vote, not him personally. This is going back to his voting comment from earlier on. Douglas H. Brown Sr. is back. He has gifted 5 channel memberships on this Monday. Thank you, Douglas. And Sean Carter, Sarah, our initial winner, thanks to Eric Hill's generosity. Our ticket giveaway last week is here.
Hello, flock. On our way to the bank from Savannah, Georgia. Can't wait to meet Eric and the crew at Lot G. Let's go, Ravens.
Yeah, this feels a little bit different. Tonight feels a little bit different. There's a lot of people that are coming in for this, and I can't wait to get out there and enjoy all of it. So, Sean, thank you. Enjoy it. And obviously, a huge thanks in order for Eric Hill, who has gone above and beyond what it means to be a Vaultron. Just insane. As is this. Nate Slattery just dropped a 50 spot. That's 50 new channel members. So if you're unfamiliar with the process of this, the concept of it, 50 subscribers who may or may not be watching right now have just been gifted channel membership. And then at the end of the month, they have an opportunity to either renew or let it expire. Nate, you're incredible. It's a 50 burger. It's going to be a long day, as I suspected it would be. I need 50 pieces of meatloaf and make it local. Make it local. Thank you, Nate Slattery, for 50 new channel memberships. Sarah, that brings us to Trennan Russell. It's his 3rd or 4th of the day.
You know, it's funny because there's certain members who we just are like accustomed to seeing the 50 memberships. Nate, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time he's done something like that. Like, thank you, Nate. Thank you to everybody. And Trennan says Detroit is coming to the bank, putting their money into the vault, and now they're trying to withdraw their money. But little did they know, we got the pink slip to their car. Okay. So little did they know we got the pink slip to their car. Hashtag Voltrons. Hashtag his prediction 43-28 Ravens.
Calling his shot. Trennan, thanks for being here today. Eric Hill has dropped an additional burger. Okay. He's dropped and flipped a burger, and it's $100. You're going to read this, please. That's the least you could do on this one.
I got you. I got you because I know you have us. Bobby, your face is covered because with these $100 super chats, they get to write books. And why shouldn't they? He says, okay, Tisha, Brown, I can't resist. Anyway, I don't know what that is reference to. Anyway, Bobby, where are you at? I have your energy drinks.
Oh no.
In the way of that. The Ravens will be fine tonight. I believe the young ones will show up and show out. Oh, the Ravens, to his point, are going to have to rely on rookies tonight. We've already said Aeneas Peebles. We already know that Teddy Buchanan has been holding down that inside linebacker spot next to Roquan Smith. Obviously, with KVN down, Mike Green is there. And then you've got Malachi Starks. I mean, hello, 4 rookies majorly relied upon tonight. If these 4 can step up, woo, the future is bright, because you need guys on rookie contracts while Lamar is getting paid as he should. He deserves every penny he's getting, but you need to get rookies and guys on their rookie contract to show up and show out. So Eric believes that they will. He says, let's start a wildfire while simultaneously extinguishing the Lions fire. Hashtag the Vault, hashtag Vaultron.
Oh man, Eric, that first of all, how about the paragraph that you get when you throw $100 down, right? Like this was insane. Eric, you are incredible. Yes, all you can see is my forehead. Right? I know you guys like to make jokes about my forehead. So there it is. It's a Peyton Manning forehead, if you will. Farrah just walked in upstairs. So Farrah, if you can hear me, don't worry. We're still live. I'm about to scream. Everything's fine down here. She's upstairs. Ma needs some local meatloaf. Eric Hill. I know that wasn't the loudest ever because I just don't want to concern anybody upstairs right now. Oh my. Did Nate really just drop another 50 spot?
What?
You got to be kidding me. Trenton Russell says LJ8 is the boogeyman. Hashtag John Wick in the NFL. No pencil. Trenton, TR, he's gifting all kinds of super chats today. Eric Hill, Sarah, is here. I'm going to text Farrah because I got to yell again in a second here. I just don't want her to be concerned. She's texting me right now.
Eric Hill says, I didn't do another membership gift, so we weren't sure if the 50 was repeated since before the show, LOL. YouTube wants me to gift some more.
Eric, you are insane. Yeah, she goes, ha, 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 you're cracking me up. And then I said, well, here's what happens. We yell when donations come in, and now she's just cracking up. So now that she's in the know, we can do it. It's a 50
Nate wants meatloaf.
Nate
wants meatloaf.
He wants some local meatloaf. He wants some right meatloaf. That's a 50 super chat, 50, whatever the heck this is that we're staring at. It's a 50 burger
membership.
From Nate Slattery. It's Monday Night Football in Baltimore. What more could you possibly want? Farrah says that's awesome that we get donations and we yell. Yes, we yell when we get donations, and yell I will today if Nate Slattery's dropping 50 burgers in here.
Hey, Bobby, here, let me help you out because you always say a 50 spot for both. It's a 50 spot and a 50 membership spot. That's the only word you got to – I know you've been struggling for that extra word. 50 membership spot.
I lose my ability to truly, I don't know, use vocabulary when things like this and Sarah, to your point earlier on, newcomers do things like this. Yeah. Nate Slattery says, it's my first time interacting in the channel. It won't be the last time you see me. Let's rock flock. The fact that people like this come out of the woodwork. It's not that they aren't committed to the show. It's not that they aren't interested in the show. It's not that they don't watch the show, but they somehow come out of the woodwork and they come in hot. That's what they do.
Hey, they sure do. And Liv B had a great suggestion for us. We call them 50 ships.
Whoa. 50 ships.
Yeah. Membership.
50 ships.
50 ships. That makes that'll roll off the tongue.
Let's
Nate
set
just
sail
dropped
then.
A 50 ship.
Let's set sail then.
Yeah.
Huh?
Let's set sail.
I'm right here in Canton, Phelps Point. Let's go. I'll go down to Canton waterfront, steal myself a sailboat, and show up to the bank like that.
Oh, hey, yeah, you can show right up, right into the inner harbor on your 50 ships sailing in.
Matter of fact, look, I don't even need to steal a sailboat if 50 spots keep coming in, quite frankly. I mean, why would I steal them to begin with? I don't know why. They're just popping in my head, and I'm feeling devilish right now. Let's run it. Pen 15 Chaff wants to know why we're whispering. You want to know why we're whispering? Because if people in this town and this market aren't aware of what we're building inside this channel, then they should be, guys, because it's Monday Night Football in Baltimore. There ain't going to be very much whispering right now, but I really not want to bother Farrah, who's upstairs right now and just walked in from her lunch break. It's my buddy's fiance. And just in case you guys aren't aware of what we're doing here, again, it's not what we're building. It's what we've built. The Joker. Why so serious? 1, 2, 3. And then he bombs the building. Okay. Anyway.
You really did sound like a captain, but maybe you're a captain of a ship instead of a plane here. Oh my gosh, we're off the rails. One more from Tisha here. You said Tisha. Is it Tisha, not Tisha? We've been saying Tisha.
Excuse me if it is. Well, I think it's Tisha because she would have corrected me by now and definitely used this super chat if it was. I think it's Tisha.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, okay. We've messed up. She said, I told Eric to behave today. He did not.
Well, look.
Eric never behaves.
Tisha, I'm going to be on my worst behavior tonight, to quote one of my favorite songs from Drake. Tonight's going to be a problem out there. I'm getting after it tonight, and that has nothing to do with booze consumption. I'm bringing an energy. I was going to say unknown to mankind, but that's generic. I'm bringing an energy that I plan to have go unmatched tonight. And that starts at the pregame show, and that will leak right into the bank. My first time as a spectator in the bank on U.S. soil. We're letting it rip tonight. Tisha, can't wait to see you.
Well, and we're more piling in here. He's PBR Poppy says, what's up, Sarah? About to be on my way, driving up from southeastern PA to Bmore, around town tailgate. See you soon, Bobby. Yeah, Bobby, you're going to see a lot of people tonight. I get that. Heck
yeah. I can't wait. And for those that have missed this, Be More Around Town is where I will be pregame live streaming tonight in the 5 o'clock hour is typically when we start these shows for primetime games. And right now, if you use code BOBBY5, BOBBY5, get you a couple bucks off the entry fee into tonight. 801 West Austin Street. Look forward to it, Sarah.
Let's go.
Boy, is this one performing today. People are out in droves. Over 3,600 concurrents on this Monday. Thank you guys so much for being here. Please like the video on your way in. Subscribe to the channel. We do have about 20 more minutes left of content here. Hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member today. Sarah, we began the day just over 1,300 in that department. We'll get a count before we get on out of here. But I pass the baton over to you to talk about a recent John Harbaugh sit-down with Scott Van Pelt.
We will talk about the John Harbaugh sit down with 3,600 concurrents right now in the vault. Love every single one of you. So yes, obviously for Monday Night Football on ESPN, they got to do a nice package with one of the stars, whether it's usually a head coach or a quarterback. In this instance, it was John Harbaugh. Scott Van Pelt is seriously, like the rest of us, absolutely amazed by Lamar Jackson, not only last year, but how we started off this year. And obviously on Monday night with a 22 touchdowns. Is it 22 touchdowns to 0 interceptions on Monday night? And he asks John Harbaugh what his secret is. John Harbaugh didn't want to quite give it, but Scott had a really good saying that really ended up pushing John Harbaugh to revealing a secret weapon that Lamar Jackson has that I kind of had a feeling he must have to some degree, but John spelled out really nicely and why Lamar Jackson sees the field so unbelievably well.
22 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. That defies logic and reason. I worked with Paul Azinger for a while covering golf, major champion, Ryder Cup captain, and he had a fantastic line to describe this idea. He said, everyone likes to be noticed, but not everyone's comfortable being watched. He's talking mostly about the idea of Tiger. I feel like Lamar Jackson is the type of person and performer, really, who was born to be watched, who is just not just comfortable, but prefers that. Is that reasonable?
I do agree with that. And I think the greatest players, like in sports, don't mind being on stage. They want to be the guy that is the center of attention in the biggest moments. A corner who wants the ball thrown his way when it means the most, or a pass rusher who wants, a critical situation, one-on-one opportunity against a tackle, right? To me, those are the guys that you want to have on your team. That's for sure.
His excellence is obvious. He's already been an MVP. But you talked this week about his IQ for the game, his intelligence for the game. What traits are you seeing become even more obvious year after year?
Well, I think his experience is kind of kicking in. Like, he's always had a great eye for the game. Like, he sees the field in a unique way. Quarterbacks, we talk about every position in terms of their ability to process the game. So linebackers process the game a certain way. They see their reads and their keys, and they just kind of react to it. We think it's more of a snapshot than it is a linear type of progression. It's not like A to B to C to D. It's like A, B, C, D, and E all together at the same time. They take a snapshot and they react to it because the game moves so fast, and they really don't think about it. That's kind of the genius of it. Lamar has always had that. Like, he's always seen the field. He's always been able to come off the field and tell you, hey, this, number 2 was here, number 4 was there, number 3 was over the top, or whatever it might be. And you'd be like, oh my gosh, it's, how did he see that? How does he remember that? He just has like a photographic memory for it. But now I think he's been able to take the experiences that he's had 8 years as a quarterback in the National Football League and just apply them so much more with the old term, the game slows down for you. The game is really slow for Lamar right now. And you can just kind of see it in the way he processes, the way he operates, the decisions he makes. He makes a lot of great plays just by seeing things on the field that other people don't see.
And that's it, Bobby. That's it. It's that photographic memory that nobody else would know about. When the question was about his IQ and his high IQ. And it's like he can see things. And that's the problem. Is sometimes you want to project which quarterbacks from college are going to succeed in the NFL. And of course, physical talent is a big part of it, but it's the mental talent and the processing that oftentimes takes a really talented quarterback and throws them out of the NFL. Like if you can't process the game, Lamar can process on another level because of that photographic memory that he has, where it's even to like coaches that they're like, how did you just remember that this receiver was here, that receiver was there. And it might be, Bobby, like we talk about all the time, that touchdown to interception ratio. And really in the last 17 games, he's had the best ratio ever in a 17-game span. And he can be so careful with the ball because he does see everything and he's able to process it so quickly. And as John Harbaugh said, added to that secret weapon that he's always had, add to it his experience. And so he can take those snapshots and see the game, but apply with more experience how you are able to cut apart what you've already been able to see this entire time.
These are the little details that we're just not privy to, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to how he does what he does. Because this is the stuff that's just he's so closed off with the media for the most part. He's such a private person that unlike maybe, I don't know, who was like a super transparent or inward looking player that was super forthcoming with the media. Like think of whoever that player is that would be able to explain in layman's terms what makes that player great. Lamar chooses to not handle media like that. He doesn't let us in all that often. And so when we are let in this case by a third party, and somebody that's far from a third party in terms of how involved he is, obviously John's been the integral piece to this part, one of the integral pieces of this partnership for 8 years running now. And so when we get these little bits and pieces, it's like, okay, now we see the recall. We see how he has eyes behind his back in and out of the pocket. We see how he's been able to improve upon different aspects of his game as a passer, whether it be outside the numbers, the intermediate game's always been there. Like whatever it is, the deep ball game has been exceptional in recent years. And now you bring in a DeAndre Hopkins and you would expect that to continue, as Troy Aikman talked about last week. Like this is like this to me is like the puzzle in a sense will always be incomplete, Sarah, when it comes to comprehending Lamar, like as a player and as a person because of how closed off he is.
Mm-hmm.
But this to me feels like, okay, this is a piece amongst an entire puzzle of what we've been trying to put together to explain and understand Lamar for 8 years running now at the NFL level. And whenever you get that kind of insight, it's really intriguing.
Well, I also really enjoyed the part where Scott Van Pelt was quoting Gary Williams, and he said that great players don't mind being watched. And that's really interesting to me. So when you ask people what like their number one fear is, oftentimes you're going to hear like something like heights or spiders, but actually the number one answer is public speaking. And why? People are uncomfortable with eyes focused on them and looking at them. And people who aren't bothered by that can excel when everybody's watching, because what happens when eyes are on you? What are you feeling? You think that there's judgment out there. And for sure there is. People are watching and they're making judgments. It's human nature. It's what everybody does. And so that's why you'll hear people talk about, oh, I feel like an imposter. There's like imposter syndrome, or you like have the self-doubt and you can't handle expectations. And with Lamar Jackson, we know The goalposts just keep moving for Lamar. It just moves every single day. And then he makes that field goal and that field goal and that field goal, and they just keep pushing it back, and he keeps knocking it through. And it's because he doesn't care. He doesn't care. And that really does take a special mind. And some of the greats, whatever sport it is, because Gary Williams, I think Scott Van Pelt were talking about it, whether it was basketball or golf or whatever, it doesn't matter what sport it is. Do you crumble when the lights are bright? Do you crumble when everybody's looking? And that's Lamar doesn't care. He doesn't care about the noise. That's why he doesn't listen to the noise. He doesn't get caught up in the noise because he doesn't care. He's got his eyes singled to one thing, and that's a Super Bowl trophy. And everything else is just noise that isn't helpful. And I love that. He doesn't mind being watched. He's unafraid of all the judgments that come his way.
Sarah, on today's live stream, we had Will Birchfield on from 97, won the ticket, Lions personality, and he obviously recognized, to say the very least, Lamar Jackson's greatness, and he remembers what happened in October of 2023. And it's not to belabor the point. We all remember what happened. It's 2 years removed now. We'll see what happens coming up tonight. But he referenced Jared Goff's comments, a peer of Lamar's, if you will, at the quarterback position. This is what he actually said on Lamar this week.
Incredible. He really is. I mean, I think his legs get a lot of attention, but I don't know if his passing ability gets the attention it may deserve. And he's as good of a passer as there is in this league. If you look at the numbers, he's as good as anyone throwing the ball over over his career, but specifically the last 3 or 4 years, he's been pretty on fire. And our defense has their hands full with him, but I expect them to play well.
And that's a dude who can pass himself. And so I know there's one more snippet that you wanted to share from this sit down with SVP, which is great from Harbaugh. But that's that right there coming from the opposing quarterback who, again, quickly, what's the universal thought these days? It's not just Lamar's greatness. Mm-hmm. It's, no, wow, can we continue to talk about how prolific he's become as a passer and his ability to win the game as a passer? And not just to mention his ability, his willingness. He wants to win the game first and foremost as a passer, and that wasn't the case early on in his career.
Yeah, so the second part of this interview that isn't about Lamar, but I thought it was very pertinent. So obviously, we all know the statistic that John Harbaugh has the most double-digit blown leads of any NFL coach. And of course, you have to give the context that he's had his team in a position to have double-digit leads. A lot of coaches aren't even in that position, so that's fair context. But you don't want to lose as many as he's lost, and we came off the one against the Bills that was very disappointing and had everybody upset, and rightfully so. And I feel like after that game with the media, John Harbaugh seemed to be leaning towards, okay, we got to stop. We got to change our strategy. But more than what he said with his words is we saw it against the Browns, and that's why we got the stat padding accusations against Lamar Jackson. We don't care. Stop Lamar. We're going for the jugular. But I think with Scott Van Pelt, John Harbaugh was a little bit more forthright and a little bit more transparent and made it more clear that he is changing his philosophy late in games when he and his team have a lead. Listen to this.
Williams, Hall of Fame basketball coach at Maryland's.
Wrong one. Did I bring in the same one?
22 touchdowns in.
Okay, maybe it is at the end of this one. Let me see.
Forever. He's good friends with Your Honor, Steve Bisciotti, and he shared with me this thought, and it makes.
Hold on a second. Now, maybe I put in the Gary Williams quote before it was.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? The first snippet you kept mentioning Gary, and I'm like,
you're I don't remember that part.
Well, I heard Azinger, and that was his former golf, his golf TV teammate.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard the Gary nugget yet. So it looks like that's coming up here. Of course, for those that aren't aware, or maybe on the younger side, Gary won a national championship, which maybe they'll talk about here in a second, with Maryland back in, I think, early 2000s or 2000.
All right. Well, I'll let the quote run since I was ahead of it. And then hopefully it gets to John Harbaugh talking about his changed, maybe I was flipping the two. I was crediting the I don't mind being watched. That was the golf guy. Gary Williams is something different. So let's let it run.
Gary Williams, Hall of Fame basketball coach at Maryland, has been a good friend forever. He's good friends with Your Honor, Steve Bisciotti, and he shared with me this thought, and it makes a ton of sense. He said one of the hardest things to do is to coach with a large lead because you tend to not play the way that you played to build the lead. and I get it, you wouldn't take as many risks necessarily, but just I'm interested in your philosophy of that because I'm going to get to this in a minute. You've spent a ton of time playing with large leagues. Is there something to that?
There's a lot to.
Okay, so Gary Williams was the same. Sorry to flip it. Gary Williams is talking about how it's hard to play with big leads, and this is where we get into that conversation. Thank you for. Glad we got that cleared up.
That, and it's exactly right. And you have to really fight against that. And I think probably the biggest thing we haven't done is we haven't done that. We haven't continued to play with kind of the same. I don't know if it's an edge, but there's just the same attack kind of a mindset.
But isn't that human nature?
It is human nature. That's the problem with the whole thing. And then a bad thing or two happens. We had so many of them, so we've lost more than most. But still, we need to be way better in those situations because you just got to keep coming after people. You have to make plays. And we've probably done more trying to avoid plays being made against us. And what happens when you do that is plays get made against you. You know, you get a tip pass for a touchdown that's just a crazy play that probably shouldn't happen. Or you get a pass interference, kind of a bad luck on a fourth down. And all of a sudden, now the momentum starts to go against you, and you even kind of go more into a shell. So, no, we need to keep getting after people. We need to play. It's an advantage to be behind because you have nothing to lose. When you're way ahead, you have a lot to lose. It's just like in life, you know. But you can't live your life like you have something to lose. You got to live your life like you got nothing to lose.
But you've lived in that space more than most. We did the research on this. Like, since you've been the head
Thanks for
coach.
pointing that out.
Well, but it's important because since you've been the coach here, only the Patriots have had more second half double-digit leads, 162. Only the Patriots have more double-digit wins. Like, you've lived in that space, and it's worth pointing that out. Like, the team you play this week, Detroit, they came in a couple years ago. You're both 5-1. You beat them by 35 points. I mean, I feel like that ought not get lost in this conversation.
We didn't lose that lead, yeah.
Pardon me?
We didn't lose that lead. We kept that
35
lead.
would be a tough one to let get away. But I do think that that's a space that you all have lived in more than most. And I would imagine that that's what you're trying to do.
Right, yeah. We want to be great in all those situations. We don't want to lose any of those games. So, you know, we're kind of ticked off about it.
Yeah, so Bobby, I really liked it. He said, we have to keep coming at you. And he said in the past, we did kind of like, I think he's right. Like there is an advantage when you're playing from behind because you have nothing to lose. And you can take risks and you can take gambles that you normally wouldn't take when you're ahead because why would you? When you're losing, you're like, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I take this risk? Why wouldn't I take this gamble? I'm losing anyway. And if I don't take this risk, then that's just me quitting basically and laying down. And so, but he is seeing the other side of the coin that it's like, but when we do slow down, you start to play tight and you start to get into like a slump and then you start pressing more and you're like, oh crap, here they come. And he's just like, and so he's announcing it. He's saying, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to keep coming at you because this other way isn't working. So I'm glad that he was more forthright and more accountable there, saying how it did build up and it did get to them. And now we're going to keep coming. Actions match those words against the Browns. And I want to see those actions. If the Ravens happen to get up again, keep going for the jugular. This is not Pee-wee. This does not need it's not Pee-wee football where it's like, hey, we don't want to run up too big of a lead. We're not trying to crush little kids' dreams. These are grown adults. They're professionals. They're all paid millions of dollars. Keep coming. And I'm glad to hear that coming from the head coach.
Done. I really don't have anything else to add. Shall we get back to Super Chats?
Let's do it.
And good find there. You know, I think to me, when you think about Scott Van Pelt and some of his greatest traits, some of his greatest abilities as a broadcaster, it's not a coincidence that he's sitting down with SVP and being so forthright. To your point, that's what Scott does. He's a heck of an interviewer. Back to some Super Chats. Thank you guys for being with us. We're closing in on 6 hours, by the way, 6-hour countdown to the start of kickoff tonight. I will be at the Be More Around Town pregame tailgate. Sarah and I will be live in our postgame show format, as always, which will probably be close to midnight, depending on what takes place tonight. And if you're wondering where we are, typically we wait till the postgame press conferences finish up, and then we try to go live as soon as we can. So that's just the logistics of tonight. Park Heights Profit for you.
Says the energy in Lot G will be unmatched. Let's come back with the lion mane stuck in our talons. Hashtag LFG, hashtag 9-1.
David Sullivan, thanks for the gift membership, Nate, meaning Nate Slattery. I can finally join live today and am immediately blessed. David Sullivan, thank you for being here, man. And then see this is on the receiving end. And we always like to hear and see and read who's on the receiving end of these gifts. And It looks like Nate Slattery's went to, in part, because he gave out 50 of them, maybe even more than
100,
that.
I think.
I was going to say 100 total. David was one of those 100. So thanks, David. Pen 15 shaft for you.
Whisper, Bomb Bobby is on the loose. Okay, whisper it. Bomb Bobby is loose. Drop those bombs like Lamar is going to be doing to the Lions defense.
Oh, it's a fun day, Pen. Appreciate you, man. Camden has become our latest channel member, and he's looking clean in that profile photo. Take a look.
He is. Look at
Look
that.
at Cam Don. What's up, Cam Don?
Nice suit.
I think I said Camden. Cam Don. Cam Don. It's a 50 burger from Douglas H. Brown Sr. He says, can't leave this crazy time. It's hard to leave, right? The community is so robust.
It's hard for us to leave. We're always trying to end the show. It's hard for us to leave.
I'm trying to get a sandwich and lunch with Farrah so I can actually see her for the first time since she got in from a bachelorette party last night out in Colorado. I haven't barely even seen her. So yeah, I'm trying to get out of here too, but we can't because you people are next level. We love you because of that. And we love you, Douglas, for a 50 burger. And just because I'm locally in Baltimore getting ready for the bank on Darkness Falls, Sarah, I need a little bit of local meatloaf here. Local meatloaf on deck from Douglas H. Brown Sr. It's a 50 burger inside this here vault with over 3,900 concurrents on this Monday afternoon. Just a couple quick hits, Sarah, because we had so many others in the form of what typically quick hits for us on days that the Ravens don't play are what's happening around the league. But we decided to make an entire topic on that. So let's just get out of here with a couple quick hits, and KVN's going to have some withdrawals coming up.
Not only is he knocked out for a couple of weeks, but now he's going to be fined $17,389 for landing his quote-unquote body weight on the quarterback in his last in the Browns Sunday game. And here it is at about the 14:56 mark. He goes after Joe Flacco. He tackles him and puts all of his body weight on there. Let's see if we get another angle to get a better look. We do not, but he got his body weight on there. That's a tough, like $18,000. $18,000 because with his momentum, he landed with his body weight on Joe Flacco. Sorry, KVN. Things are not going your way right now, but keep your head up. You'll be back.
Luckily, the pay raise in the offseason will help, I think, a little bit in that department. Jeff noting what we thought earlier.
Yeah.
And what we talked about earlier could potentially be the case with Brent Urban being a game day practice squad call-up. We'll have to wait and see, though. And Kyle Hamilton, Sarah, grading out so far so good, as you'd expect from the highest paid safety in the league.
Yeah, we talked about Branch over for the Lions, and of course, above Branch is Kyle Hamilton, highest graded safety. We got him at 99.9. Woo! This is the impact metric for their safeties. Safety impact metric, 99.9. Does it get any better? Do they have 100s? Do they give out 100s? Because 99.9 is pretty high up there.
Would you expect anything less from number 14? That brings us to the end of Quick Hits. Chris B writes, and he's celebrating 3 months of channel membership, by the way, as a VAULTRON. So, Chris, thank you. He writes, let's go, Vault. Planning on going to the Ravens bar in Columbus tonight. The crab cakes. It looks like we'll just kind of be going from food group to food group. Why not? Chris, enjoy that. I think you were the one, Chris. Were you the one that reached out when we were doing the Vault Summit and invited me to one of the local bars there? If so, appreciate it. Enjoy yourself tonight. Mike M.
He says, where's Mina? I can't keep up with the lies, Bojita.
I can't keep up with you, Mike, for not paying attention at the end of last week, huh? Yes, I got it wrong. I thought that she was coming on at 1:40 today. There was a miscommunication breakdown between myself and the star that is Lily Blum for ESPN, by the way. And not only, Sarah, did we have Mina on Friday at 1:40, which was very spontaneous, and I was reminded of that booking mid-live stream. But at the end of the interview, she was like, hey, I'd love to come and do it again when I have more time.
Well, you know what we should do? You know what we should do? I saw this suggestion, not in the live chat, but one of the comments after the video was posted. They were like, we should have her on before the Ravens Packers game. Because remember, she predicted Ravens Packers in the Super Bowl. So maybe we'll play it by ear a little bit. If the Packers.
It's going to be tough.
I don't like your attitude right now.
Well, I'm looking at it realistically.
We know that she's going to work on Christmas week. So anyway, but if we book it far in advance, I do kind of want to see if the Packers are living up, up to the billing and all that. But if we went to Lily like 2 weeks out and we're feeling like, okay, this is heading in that direction, I bet they could get it in.
Well, what about the week following? Analysis of Packers Ravens.
Sure.
I'm just assuming that Christmas is out, but who knows? We'll see.
You could be assuming wrong though, sir.
I'm making an assumption. Yes, I am.
Yes, you are.
Just to be abundantly clear, the Mina conversation has been had. And if you can go check out the best of playlist section, you'll see that over 10,000 folks have watched it and counting. So go check that out. Mina was awesome. She gave us about 15 minutes of her time and was super tight on timing because, again, of my oversight. So huge shout out to her. Let's get to our patrons as well who support the channel. Big Fetch 927 and Anise. Thank you both for believing in what we're building and what we've built. What we've built. We've built this, not building.
Built and building.
We're built and building.
And will build.
And Big Fesh 927.
All the tenses.
Shout out to you both. Thank you for the support that you guys give us through Patreon. And if you guys haven't already done so and you're interested in contributing and becoming a part of that community, you can do so by visiting patreon.com/RavensVault podcast. I'll let you take this one from Fernando.
I will do this one. And I just want to say very quickly, I'm going to do one more thing. Okay. Fernando says, Fernando doesn't say anything. He just gifted memberships, 5 of them. We appreciate you, Fernando, joining in on all the giving.
And that reminds me, as you start to get your thoughts together for one more thing, let me just get a quick little count of where we are in our channel VAULTRON membership. And because it's going to take me an extra second, here, once you read this one from Fernando, on top of that gift, he has left a $5 super chat.
Okay, he's given us a pronunciation guide for his last name, Quijano. So Fernando Quijano. He says, shout out to Eric for the gift. Needed to pay it forward. Happy to finally catch y'all live. Heading to the bank shortly. See, giving just is contagious around here.
Yeah. Well,
Eric's
enjoy
cool.
it. Enjoy it, Fernando, and safe travels to the bank wherever you're traveling from. Sarah, the live count as of right now, which something tells me is not fully populated, 1,341 of you out there are channel VAULTRONs inside this community. So thank you so much for that support. It goes directly towards our daily efforts to grow this thing, and ultimately allows other people to get more of an engaged, I'd say, experience as VAULTRON viewers, listeners, all of our audio only folks out there. We appreciate all of you guys for being here on this Monday. 6 hours almost to kickoff. Let's hear your one more thing.
My one more thing, Bobby, this is so off topic, but that's what one more thing is for. I have, over the last year or two, officially caught the pickleball bug. Okay. I loved me some pickleball. I've also picked up tennis recently, so I'm trying to expand my horizons, trying to be outside basketball because basketball is my favorite sport to play.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had a friend come back in town. She recently moved. We talked about her before. She came back in town and she has caught the pickleball bug with me. So what I did for her to come back in town is I reached out to a pickleball coach. Okay. So we went together to go get this lesson from Coach Pam. Why is it taking forever to load? We've got a picture here coming up. Do you see it yet?
Not quite yet.
It's loading. Anyway, we go to Coach Pam. Let me see if I can retry this here because it's not working at all. So we go to Coach Pam and she's like, oh, within an hour, I will have you guys ready to go with pickleball. And so we go in, we get an hour's worth of strategy. I feel like my game is completely opened up. Okay. And so once we finish, my friend Natalie is like, well, we got to put our strategy to the test. We got to figure out how to do this. Bobby, if I send this to you, can you bring it in?
I was just going to say.
Wait, I sent it to you already. You have it in text message.
Okay. I'll email it to myself. Keep going.
Okay. Anyway. So anyway, she's like, we gotta play people. So I'm like, well, let me go check my 2 high school sons. Let's run to my house. We'll see if they'll come with us to play. So at first we take them over to this park and the boys are like, okay, we only have 30 minutes because they were going to go to their high school soccer game or something like that. So I'm like, okay, thank you for the 30 minutes. We get there. The pickleball courts were actually tennis courts and they were full of lessons. So we're like, shoot, we got to go further out. Me and Natalie were committed to put to use our new knowledge. So my sons are like, okay, we're out. And I'm like, that's fine. We'll just go to this random pickleball court that was 30 minutes away. So we show up, courts are full. We finally get in. And then we're like, but this is no fun playing each other one-on-one because we just learned how to strategize together. So then we start challenging people, just random strangers. We start challenging people. And when I tell you, we played pickleball basically from, can you zoom in on that? We played pickleball basically from 4:30 p.m. until the sun went down. I felt like I was back to growing up in the 80s and 90s where you didn't go home until the sun went down. That was us, me in my 40s, challenging random strangers out there. And I have to tell you, though, there was one game where I feel like we picked the wrong couple. This guy was phenomenal. His serve was almost unreturnable. We finally found our groove. And I started figuring, okay, I got to try to be strategic and try to aim the ball towards his girlfriend. She was good too, but he was like an animal. This dude was taking over the entire court. Bobby, we started off 0-5. Me and Natalie go on this crazy comeback. We're tied 9-9, but then they get the serve, and who's serving? Him. He's serving. They end up winning by 2 points, 9-11. But when I tell you, I'm so glad when I can find friends that are as enthusiastic and as active as me. It's such a blast. So it was great to have her back in town. I just had a lot of fun with my friend who returned for the weekend.
I love it. You two are fit. Tennis and pickleball are absolutely wellness-based hobbies. Totally.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you guys got to spend some time together because she is a personal favorite of mine. She knows that.
Yeah, because when you came to visit, she was teaching the high fitness class.
She was.
So you know her. Yeah.
And we already put that photo up back in April, if you remember, guys. Remember, I went to high fitness with Sarah and her whole crew, and I walked out of there drenched in sweat. It was awesome. So well done. Great one more thing. Great show. Great audience. Incredible generosity inside this channel today. If you guys haven't already done so, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a pickleball player or tennis player. And thanks for sharing, Sarah. Unbelievable. You guys are unbelievable. And it's just beginning today. It is just beginning. I'm going to go grab some lunch with my friend. You are going to go, I'm sure, get your day.
We got lots of soccer tonight. Yeah. And then after soccer, I'll be back for the game.
Yep. I'll continue to reiterate what my plans are just in case you guys haven't figured it out by now. I am in Baltimore. I flew in yesterday, and I'm going to be at the Be More Around Town tailgate for pregame live coverage coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. And I will be at this game tonight for the first 3 quarters. I will then run out of the bank, Sarah, hopefully not meet Mark Ingram, who might be waiting for me outside the bank, as he once told a live audience years ago. And I will go to the car, rip across town here to Canton, and be in hopefully this seat right here to get ready for our post-game show, which probably will start around midnight or so. So it's a Monday Night Football in Baltimore. It is a beautiful day, and we're going to have all kinds of coverage coming up over the next few hours for you. Look forward to seeing a lot of you guys out there. And for Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this Monday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. 2+ hours of content for you guys, solely because you are the best community out there. Thanks to all of you. Oh, there's so much local meatloaf to go around inside this here vault. Thank you, guys, and we'll catch up with you tonight. I'll be live, Bobby Baltimore channel, coming up at 5 o'clock. And Sarah and I, of course, will join you inside the vault right here on this channel coming up tonight. Thanks, guys, and as always, thanks for spending some time, VAULTRONs, inside the vault.